What does your business look like now? I mean, I get a basic understanding of what you do, but for our audience, tell us exactly what you do on a daily basis when it comes to photography, teaching, speaking, selling, commercial stuff. Give us a 30,000 foot overview of what you do.
What I'm doing right now is pretty much what I spend my time doing. I'm, talking about photography. Photo education is the lion's share of my business. Still make some occasional money from licensing images, or occasionally I'll get an assignment, but almost all of it is teaching workshops and tours in person or doing instruction online, giving presentations, doing a lot of Zoom meetings these days, talking with camera clubs all around the world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is what I do.
When you started and you had to essentially hustle, and I know we all still hustle today. It's never a plain sailing ride, but are there any moments that you can think of where you had to kind of compromise that artistic integrity? You talked about when you started, you didn't necessarily have the artistic uh, voice or artistic skill set that you thought you did or you were seeking. At some point, you obviously found it, but are there any commercial pressures that you've experienced have put too much pressure on you in terms of your artistic voice and your artistic integrity?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I think generally the answer is no, not really. I've always, I talked about the dichotomy between the artistic and the business sides of things. And I've always been of the opinion that you do what you want to do artistically, and that the business model is figuring out a way to take what you're passionate about and to find a way to make money off of it, to find an audience for it. And that's really what the business is all about, is figuring out how best to market and promote and to reach the audience that's going to appreciate what you're doing. And so I'd like to think that the two exist in entirely separate realms, but I don't think that's 100% true. I know one very clear example of when I let commercial considerations get in the way of my artistic vision is many years ago, I made the internal decision to never do black and white photography. So, like, if you go to my website, all of the work on the website is in color. And so that was a commercial decision. I felt that color, for whatever reason, was more likely to get me noticed than black and white. I don't know why I thought that. That seems kind of silly in retrospect, because obviously black and white photography can be very appealing to a lot of people. Um, and maybe it was just because of the kind of work I was doing, doing nature photography. It's more often than not presented in color than in black and white. Some other types of photography, obviously, black and white is much more common. But I did make that decision, and it was motivated entirely by commercial considerations, not at all by artistic considerations. Yeah, and so it's funny because when I started just doing street photography for fun, that was the first time I started converting large numbers of images to black and white, because that's just much more common with that genre. And now I'm embarking on a project of going through all my old raw files and picking out the images that had previously been rejected because they weren't good enough as color images, but that actually would make great black and white images. So I'm reversing that decision that I made many years ago. And at some point, I'll be presenting that black and white portfolio. But yeah, generally, the one other area that I can think of where I feel business pressure and competitive pressure is, with landscape photography in particular, there are a lot of photographers who go around photographing the very famous landscape icons. And I have generally resisted doing that. I don't like going and making photos of the stuff that everyone else is photographing. I tend to prefer to find places and moments that are more unique and more personal. And sometimes I feel like that is the road. It's the road less traveled, but it's also the much more difficult road to travel, because when like on Instagram you've got photographers that are just chasing each other, like people go out and they make a shot and then you've got a million people who go and copy that shot. Well, when it's all laid out for you, and it's a shot that clearly resonates with people because everyone's doing it because they love it. If you just go and do that, if you copy the famous Instagram icons, chances are you can very easily build a portfolio that's impressive. But a lot of the artistic work is being done by other people. All you're doing is copying what they're doing. But that makes it really easy to build up a portfolio that people would find stunning. I just don't like doing that because I just don't feel like any of that is unique or original to me. So I avoid doing that. But I think that I've taken a hit commercially as a result. So yeah, I mean, like the two, I try to keep the two considerations separate, but there is this squishy middle ground. So it's hard to completely divide commercial and artistic instincts.
It's impossible as long as you, I think, know yourself and know your artistic voice, and that's a journey in itself, right?